Everybody, welcome to Snow Talk Part 2. I told you guys I'd focus more on the longer range, which will cover us into Thanksgiving weekend into early December. Here's the monitoring board. It's back down to 1. That would be Saturday night's system. And the reason why it's at the only one listed is because the other one I see is beyond the range that I set for myself to look at and put on the board. So I'll hint to it on the blog here, but it may get added probably by next week. We should see it added to the monitoring board, but not yet. All right. Speaking of Saturday night, here's the latest look at some of the model runs that have been coming in. The gray area is less than an inch. In this case, it'd be just like a trace of snow at best. Is what we're talking about here, and you see the NAM GFS have that potential for maybe a trace. Saturday night, RPM says nope, but RPM is usually a little slow, by the way, to catch on these things, and then Euro is mainly to the north. So not a big deal, and the point of showing this is that we're not talking about a snowstorm at all Saturday night. We're talking about snow flurries, maybe a brief snow shower if you're lucky enough, but certainly the first flakes of the season appear to be on our way. Maybe we'll at least get finally a trace of snow out of this. All right, so let's look at the models and the ensembles. You probably remember these maps. Here are the deterministic models, or the ones that change every 6 hours, depending on which model you look at. They can have wild swings to them. So that's what we look at the ensembles, which kind of smooth out all the craziness and kind of give an even keel look to all the possibilities of a scenario. Here's the GFS column, here is the Euro column, and here is the Canadian column. Now the Canadian for the deterministic model has a very short range to it, so that's why it's probably going to be blank throughout most of this, but at least it has the ensemble we can look at, which is good. What you're looking at here is the busiest travel day of the year, technically, Wednesday. You see high pressure and control. Look at that wedge, cold air wedge here in the Carolinas, and even the ensembles show that too, so some chilly air across the Carolinas, east of the Appalachians. You can see the storm system developing. Here it is in the GFS. Here it is taking shape on the Euro, which they are a much better placement together today than they were yesterday. And the ensembles, not bad, not bad. All right, they're agreeing. Canadians a little struggling here, but overall, pretty good agreement on the busiest travel day of the year that if you're traveling west, that's where you're running into problems. If you're traveling anywhere in the east, you should be okay. So, let's head on now to Thanksgiving. Now, for Thanksgiving Day, you still see not a whole lot has changed. The system's pretty slow to move out. Notice the slant here. This is the warm front. A little more slanted on the Euro. GFS is a little more north-south with it. Anywhere close to the warm fronts, we're going to have a cloud bank and perhaps some light rain showers. So the Euro still looks to be that focus there for the warm front. It looks to be just to our north, where I don't think we have anything major to worry about when it comes to rain chances. And the GFS is really dramatic with that warm surge. The ensembles, very similar. They kind of flatten out and they look a lot alike as we head into Thanksgiving Day. So at this point, Thanksgiving looks mild, pretty close to average, maybe 60 or so. And rain chance, right now we've got a small rain chance in, but if the trend continues, we may be able to take it out. Now, here are the forecast temperatures. I mentioned around 60 or so. I mean, the models, when you look at them on here, they don't really get too exact, but in general, 50s to around 60, and you see the overall theme here. Warmer in the east, cold in the west. That's what I want you to see from these maps. Now let's talk about Thanksgiving weekend, and this is where we start to see some differences develop. The GFS is real aggressive for this cold punch. It's quick to move it on in here for busiest shopping day of the year heading into the weekend. Canadian or the European model, a little slower with the idea. It wants to hold back, keep on the warmer air a little longer, keeps the rain around a little longer too for the entire weekend. The ensembles actually agree overall with each other on both of these models, and if you were to look at them, sit back and look, it has more of the Euro look to it than it does the GFS. So at this point, we are trending toward the ensembles, and that is slow it down, although the Canadian is a lot like the GFS. It's rare that the Canadian agrees with the GFS, but it is a little more aggressive. But right now, I think these two agreeing is the way to go with it being delayed cold snap. Then we get into the beginning couple days here of December. This is where things get a little more interesting. Now we lose the Euro, deterministic at this point, but we still have the ensembles, which is good. But look at the GFS. The cold pocket gets stuck, trapped basically in the Ohio Valley. And the ensembles show the cold air is still around. The Euro, not so much. Canadian says yes. But that's not the interesting part. To me, the interesting part is an idea of an area of low pressure developing in the Gulf of Mexico with the cold air to the north. Now, you all know me by now, and you should know the pattern by now, that if you ever want to get a perfect scenario of snow in the Ohio Valley, you want the low pressures, the storm systems, to appear south, far out in advance. If they're appearing right over you, far out, they're going to end up being in Chicago by the time you get to that event. So it's nice to see it far to the south. It may be false because there's not a lot of reflection of low pressure showing up here on the ensembles. But if the GFS is right, and that would trend perhaps more northeast, that could get a little interesting in the first week of December. It's a big if. I'm stretching at this point to try to get something out of this data. But that is the way it's looking. But there is an argument against it, and that is our friend the EPO is on the Euro trending back positive. The GFS is too. This means the cold air again is just not having any luck in pushing all the way southeast, knocking out the southeast ridge basically, and becoming dominant and locking in and giving us some cold air and makes things more exciting. It's grazing us with cold shots, which can be fun too if we get the right setup with the storm track. You can get some interesting storms with that in our area, but it puts us always on the borderline, and usually the rain will win out. So it's interesting to see that. Just a reminder, here's our early winter outlook, which starts December 1st. And I designed this map, again on Halloween, with the idea of the southeast ridge holding tough over the southeast corner, keeping most of the cold shots to our north. I should have drawn the cold probably a little more south to encompass a good chunk of the plain states. That's where I'm already making a mistake, I could tell. But it has been pretty stormy in the west. A lot of snow and rain here in the west, and heavy rain at times. So that seems to be on target so far. We'll see if that continues into December. But who knows? At this point, everything is on track. It's just frustrating. I get it when you don't see everything locking in the way you want it to if you're a big snow lover. But this is not all bad news. This is kind of what we're expecting, which means we will see a flip in the later half of winter. It's still early, guys. All right, enjoy the snow flurries. Let's hope we get them Saturday night. Kevin's going to have an update on all this tonight at 11. And, of course, you get another blog tomorrow. I'll see you then.